Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, MF Ghost, Season 3.
Yep, MF Ghost, Season 3, Episode 2. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. Sage, we're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo. And, well, last week we had a masterclass on how to be a freaking good announcer, and/or guest commentator, and/or color commentator. It's really, really not that hard. I can understand mastering it is a problem, but we talked about how a lot of sports analysts that I've watched in the last couple of years have regressed from where they started, like Tony Romo, which is impressive. But a lot of those, not that Tony Romo's old. He's like in his late 40s, early 50s, I believe. But some of the older guys, like Terry Bradshaw, those guys, man, those are, it's painful to listen to those guys talk these days. But that's a whole other thing. But as for MF Ghost, once again, it's good to be back with this. We had inexplicable weight gain. I mean, that's right up there with boxers, like dropping enough weight in under a week and then like regaining weight overnight to like have as much weight as they can for the actual fight. That's even beyond that. That's crazy. But other than that, Kaneda has decided that this race is worth potentially ending his driving career for because of a plot device that is now allowing him to shift. So, yes, he's resolved to get all the positions back that he lost in the first half of the race, and we are about halfway through the race because I believe they are almost halfway through lap 3, which is halfway through the race. You know what I mean? So, anyway, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this. Waiting for that Ryosuke moment, you know, the face reveal, but we all know what Ryosuke looks like. I mean, yeah, he's like 20 years older, but not much older. We've seen Keisuke and like everybody else, and they look relatively the same. So,
yeah.
So that is what it is. So, either way, not really a huge amount to say going into this because we're still in the same race, still everything we talked about at the end of last season. So, yeah, we're just going to push some buttons and get going here. So, people on Patreon will see you on the other side as usual for the timer reaction, and people on YouTube will see you on the other side for the discussion and review. If you're looking for the timer reaction, it's over on Patreon, and if you're on Patreon, go check out YouTube if you want to see the discussion and review, among other things. So, go something. Well, alright, then there you guys have it. Another lap or so is in the books. Kaneda has pretty much gotten back all the positions that he has lost. He did start in third, so yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens here. But after last week's masterclass in booth announcing, we have a masterclass in how to be a terrible field reporter. Not only are you asking every angel the same question, which is insane, it's a very boring question. And yeah. I don't know what you expect. Like, you know, this is the kind of guy who asks the question like, oh, you're an MFG angel. How do you not have like more glamorous things lined up? Like, how are you not like starring in a Hollywood movie during the summer or doing something like, you know, super glamorous? It's like, what do you expect me to be? Like partying on a yacht with like freaking Pitbull or something, Mr. Worldwide? I don't know what you want to hear me say. These people have normal lives outside of their fairly glamorous position as an MFG angel. So everybody needs downtime. You think these girls that are, you know, in their late teens, early 20s are seriously just constantly doing stuff like this? No, you kind of have to live your life outside of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, most of them are like still like in college and just kind of doing their own thing, just being relatively normal. This is their standout thing in their life.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy to me that, and I always talk about this kind of thing, like when like reporters like ask questions to pro athletes and stuff like that. And I know they don't televise or stream a lot of these things so that a lot of people don't see them. But when they do show it, It happens every time, and I've been to several events where you can see this, or like you'll get like a video feed of like another reporter like live streaming the press conference or whatever, like say like the press conference after any sporting event, football game, basketball game, whatever it is. But I've always talked about this, and it warrants mentioning every time is crap like, you have like coach of whatever team, doesn't matter. They come up to the podium and talk about the game, right? Say the star player got injured or whatever, right? In the game, like 20 minutes ago. And the room is like full of like 50 reporters from all different places, the local reporters from whatever town, and then the national reporters, that ask questions. And they come in there in first person. So, you got any news on Tom? Say the star player, we'll just use Tom Brady as an example if he got hurt or whatever. It's like, yeah, no, like they went in for imaging. I had to coach the rest of the game. I have no idea. You know what I mean? It's just like, I didn't go to the back with him. I was coaching the team, that kind of thing. And after that first question, 1000% guarantee that 10 of the next 12 reporters are going to ask the same question in a slightly different way to try to get a different answer because they think that they're going to get something else out of the coach or player or whoever it is. It's just like, man, I don't know. You know what I mean? Stop asking the same question slightly differently. It's like, you must have something on them. It's like, what do you guys understand about, I was coaching the rest of the game and then walked back to the locker room, talked to the guys, and then immediately came here. I have nothing for you. And no, I don't have a timetable on their return if like somebody like during the game like went back and said, oh yeah, they had imaging and he tore his ACL or whatever. It's just like, do you have anything on recovery time? It's like, are you kidding me? It's been 20 minutes and you guys know what an ACL tear is and how long it usually takes to recover from. So why are you asking these stupid fucking questions? You know what I mean? 95% of what most reporters ask in those press conferences could be discerned from just watching the game or the event or whatever it was, and then just writing your article and not wasting everybody's time after the fact with a stupid, inane question. And that's what drives me nuts about journalism these days, is they're stupid questions that could be answered by just having watched the freaking game and answering it yourself and then just writing your article, or you following up by, if your question is answered, let's say, by a different reporter's question, like you have a question about, say, like something reasonable, but then you still ask the same question that has already been answered. What else are you doing besides sitting there taking notes and listening to what the coach is saying or whatever? You know what I mean? That's the kind of shit that drives me absolutely insane. It's like, were you just not paying attention to somebody else? If somebody else asked the two questions that I wanted to, say I was a journalist in that room, and I was like 12th in line to ask my question, and like number 3 asked the first question that I was going to, and it was answered, and number 5 asked the second question that I wanted, I'd stand up and walk out. You know what I mean? What are you doing? Why do you feel the need that you also have to stand up and ask your question even though it's already been answered? And you see that crap all the time. There's so much time that is wasted by these nerds that is out of control. And so much extra stress and aggravation put on the players and or the coaches or whoever's being asked the question because they're stupid questions. You know what I mean? If you have nothing reasonable to input to a situation, it's better to just not ask a question at all. And that's what this situation was. Like, what are you doing this summer? And then you're disappointed by the response. It's like, I don't know what you expected. Your headcanon is insane for an average person, in this case, like a 18 to 25-year-old girl. You know what I mean? Like Kyoko points out, it's like, it's too hot to do anything. I don't know what you expect us to do. It's not like MFG Angels are millionaires that are just going to go jet setting around the world. It's like, yeah, no way, man. After the MFG season, I'm going to go like jet off to Paris and go to like a bunch of fashion shows during the summer. And then I'm going to go to Milan for, all the crazy fashion events there. What the hell do these people expect the answer is going to be? You know what I mean? And especially in this day and age, and they're in the like near future, so they probably obviously have all the social media that we do. It's just like, okay, let's say that this girl right here says she was going to do all this glamorous stuff. people would immediately fact check her and go, hey, why are you in Paris? Why aren't you in Milan? You said you were going to do all this cool stuff. We were expecting a bunch of cool like social media updates and you're not there. You know what I mean? So this isn't like you could say all this grandiose nonsense and get away with not doing it afterwards, because then people would call you on your bullshit.
Yeah, those are the main two things I was going to bring up is just like, yeah, well, he's doing a poor job. Once again, his job is to, just like interview the angels and keep up with their whole idol shenanigans. But yes, he was doing a very bad job at it. But also, yeah, even if they did actually have like some sort of legitimate answer to this outside of just, yeah, I'm just kind of chilling, most of them wouldn't have actually probably given an accurate answer because most of them keep their freaking personal life separate from their persona as the freaking idols. Like, once again, Ren doesn't even allow her actual name to be used.
Yeah, and she doesn't even have a stage name, like John Wayne, whatever, that kind of thing. Just like, or like, how wrestlers use different names, whatever it may be. Like, you guys know stage name. It is what it is. Like, if your name was like John Doe, but your stage name was like Guy Fieri, you know what I mean? that kind of thing.
Like Kyoko doesn't give out her age or what she does or anything like that, which it's already been pretty heavily implied that she's like in her like late 30s, which that's why she's like significantly older than all the other angels.
Yeah. So either way, it's just one of those things where like I see this kind of thing and it drives me nuts because like it's in that same area that we handle, like what we do every week, and I see questions like that and it's just like, I don't know what you expected to get out of this. So it's fishing for answers that you want because you want things to be more exciting and drama-filled or talking points than they actually are. Life isn't an action movie, and sometimes it's just people hanging out and doing nothing. That is what it is. Or, you see stuff with like a lot of people who are overworked in their job, whatever it is, and like managers expect you to be in constantly. It's like, you do realize that your employees have lives outside of the office or whatever and have to get things done that are not in the office. And it's crazy that people who have actual lives that, don't understand that. It's like, when do you get this stuff done? Like, when do you pay bills? When do you sleep? You know what I mean? Well, when do you do any of the other things that you need to be doing, like around your house or whatever? So it's kind of crazy. And not everybody's life is exactly the same. So it's just one of those things where like those kinds of questions are like, oh, I didn't get a cool answer. You must be a boring person. It's like, I mean, not everybody's like a millionaire. So even millionaires just kind of hang out and do nothing sometimes. So I don't know like what you expect. And again, with like answers like that, as well as like what Age mentions with like the whole protecting your identity thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to be here, here, and here. You don't think that immediately that a bunch of like rabid fans are just going to be following them around then, and they're going to be getting unwanted attention and like paparazzi nonsense, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when you're in a position like an MFG Angel or any of those people, anybody will tell you that has half a brain that's in that industry, never tell people what the hell you're doing. You know what I mean? That's right up there with like if you have like a doorbell camera and somebody rings the doorbell, never tell them that you're not home. You know what I mean? Just say, I'm not coming to the door right now, man. I'm busy. That kind of thing. Don't say, I'm not home, because that could just be some random group of nerds checking to see if somebody's in the house. And then it'll be like, oh, nobody's home. We're breaking in. You know what I mean? Same thing with these MFG Angels. Oh, they're going to be at, hanging out at the beach or whatever. There's going to be a bunch of nerds who have nothing better to do than to be nerds and go like stalk them at the beach or something and harass them.
Yeah, I mean, technically, that was one of the other things that I caught was going to mention was like technically Ren already kind of fucked up on that front because she like mentioned that she's going to be going like to visit her grandma and gave like the town name and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. So,
which not only is like giving away that she's going to be in that town, but also indicates that she has family in that town, and therefore could be used to figure out her actual identity.
Right. I mean, look at the terrible thing going on with that kidnapping thing going on with that Good Morning America host's mother right now. Whatever, I don't know the specifics, but whatever's going on with that, I'm sure most of you know have potentially heard about that kind of thing. It's you don't want to give out personal information because it can lead to madness. You know what I mean? So, but to be fair, Ren is, using wig and all that stuff. So even if people were on the lookout for her, like people haven't recognized her, that kind of thing. But there are the kind of people that would figure out who she is, that kind of thing, and would like just go to that town and just be there for days on end to try to, harass her or whatever, or even just like more benign stuff. But you kind of see that stuff, and I think I've talked about this before with like the WWE wrestlers or just anybody who like tours and stuff like that. There are people that just sit there at airports and wait for them to show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's like the people that like, I have a whole case of like Rhea Ripley action figures. I want you to sign them. And she's just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And then they go online and bid that, they're fan unfriendly. It's like you showed up with like 300 action figures to sign. You really think that they're going to do that in their travel time or just at all ever? You're out of your freaking mind. You know what I mean? You're a shameless reseller that's being a gigantic tool across the board. You know what I mean? So no. I'm not going to sit here and sign 300 things just so that you can resell them. You know what I mean? And a lot of those wrestlers and, other people in that kind of situation have just said, yeah, I'm not signing anything anymore. If you want to take a picture with me or whatever, that's cool. That's it. You know what I mean? That's all they really do anymore, which is totally reasonable and fine, because we all know how the reseller market is with a lot of stuff, and how people just want to make a quick buck off of, other people's fame and that kind of thing. And it's just unfortunate that people like that ruin the experience for people that just like want to get a picture with John Cena or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah. And just constantly having like your camera up and recording and stuff like that. So just living in the moment and appreciating the moment for what it is. So I don't know, it's just one of those things. But this last little bit here is like
scalpers are increasingly a problem these days.
Yep. And I've said this before, it's very easy to kill scalpers and make them go away. If people would just not buy from them for like 1 or 2 cycles, they would completely go bankrupt and be screwed. It's not hard. It's really not hard to deal with it. Just have some self-control. Don't buy from scalpers. Even if you really want something, just don't do it, because it just perpetuates madness. I did see a really funny Reddit story about what some guy did to a scalper, and man, it was funny as hell. It's fairly long, so I'm not going to recap it here, but basically they got this guy to drive like 150 miles and didn't show up. The guy ran out of gas and was screwed. So it was pretty funny. If you can find it on Reddit, it's a pretty good read. Either way, the last little bit here with her saying, yeah, it's boring, I know, I'm sorry, but once again, any real regular person would look at her and go, yeah, that's pretty normal. I can roll with that. You know what I mean? She's a normal person too. Oh man. So
even idols typically live relatively normal lives outside of their idol career.
Yep.
The most like abnormal thing about their personal lives is usually the extent they have to go to keep their personal lives away from their idol lives.
Yep. So either way, that was like the majority of the stuff that I kind of wanted to get into with the reporter stuff, because all the car stuff totally fine. Everything was good again. Like no real notes about that. Everything in MF Ghost has been really good for what this was. Found it as massive comeback for what it was. Like I said, during the live reaction, there was like he's predominantly made up the 7 seconds that he lost, and once again, with how he was having to not be able to shift in second gear, making up those 7 seconds in the amount of time that he did is totally feasible, because now he was at basically like 60%. You know what I mean? And now he's back at 100%.
Well, yeah, it's a combination of he was racing at a handicap because he wasn't using second gear, and now he is using second gear, but also, like, we got the whole narrator thing. He is finally actually going serious mode for the first time in any of the races.
Yep.
Because he's finally kind of came to terms with the depression that he was having over his mother's death.
Yep. So that's another thing, is like he's fully back in it from the car standpoint, and from the mental standpoint of the mental block that was keeping him from going all out is another big deal, obviously. So the only thing is, once again, how messed up his arm's gonna be after this. You know what I mean? So I'm sure we'll be getting the Ryosuke like rolled up newspaper like stupid. It's like, I'm gonna fix you, but you can't do this again. So it will be interesting to see what they do with that, because they keep alluding to Ryosuke, and we're gonna get him at some point. But once again, we got the cut-ins to like the Gunma gang and that kind of stuff. Keisuke up in his office once again, watching the damn race on a freaking 12-inch tablet on a coffee table. It's fascinating to me.
He's also apparently starting to take after Ryosuke.
Yeah. It only took him 20 years to finally get a little bit mature and not be super prideful and have a massive ego. Though, to be fair, by the end of Initial D, he was kind of like Mel. But still, it's one of those things where it's just like, it took him 20 years, huh? All right. But that's like that classic younger brother syndrome. You know what I mean? So that's just how that is. But this is one of the curiosities of this series for me, is like, why I can understand why the guys at the gas station watching it on their phone. Yeah, that's totally fine. You know what I mean? But why is Keisuke, why doesn't he have a big ass monitor that you can just, even just the way he's watching it too is has to be insanely uncomfortable. He's leaning forward on a couch and looking down like this to watch it on the coffee table, where you could just be hanging back, leaning back, and just watching, the 50-inch flat screen on your wall.
Some people could argue that oh no, he's not at his house or anything like that. He's at the MFG headquarters, but you'd also think the MFG headquarters would have some sort of major broadcast shenanigans for the event too.
Yeah, even if you don't have TVs in every room or something crazy, I don't know, your conference room could have a freaking big TV. I don't know. Just saying, it's really weird, because look at this room they're in. This is the penthouse suite. And yes, it's very cool architecture. They have this weird triple couch situation going on. You guys seeing this? It's really weird interior decorating and that post neo modern semi-futuristic nonsense. But again, why is you can't even have a TV on that wall? Look at the wall. It's it's this weird curve. I don't understand what's happening here.
It's boat spine.
Yeah, so it's I don't get it. They have enough fluorescent lighting to take down. Okay, here's another thing that's weird. They have fluorescent lighting in the ceiling, but then the hanging lamps at the same time. Who designed this freaking place? You know what I mean? On top of gigantic windows, so you don't need the lights on during the day, because the natural light should be more than enough. I can understand that lighting for nighttime, sure, whatever. But this whole thing makes zero sense. Also, the two copy tables are different sizes. So, I mean, does this matter for the show at all? Absolutely not. But I'm just pointing this out because there wasn't a huge amount that we could really say about this episode, because everything from race-wise was very good and well handled, and don't really have to go into it. Everything was explained well. We really don't have anything to say about that until Kaneda makes a couple more moves. But as it stands, this whole place makes zero sense. I don't get it. Imagine you're hanging out in a penthouse suite, and everybody's crowded around a tablet to watch an event. Luckily, it's only the two of them, so they could get away with it. But man, if I was in that situation, I'm not going to be looking down like this, staring at like straining my neck, staring at a freaking tiny ass screen to see what's going on. So yes, weird stuff going on. But yeah, as it stands, I think they've done a good job with like the internal monologue of the drivers and stuff like that. There are a couple things that I question, like during the live reaction with like how is he possibly making a move here? Which leads me into the last thing I wanted to talk about. It's like, you're on a 2-lane road, man. This isn't like, you know, a section of a professional race course where literally nobody can pass. These are public streets that are generally, yes, there are one-way roads out there in every country that just have single lanes for one car going, say, north only. But most of this area, even when the 2-lane road gets fairly small, once again, we're in Japan. Okay? What looks like a 1-lane road to an American is probably a 2-lane road in Japan, because, you know, generally speaking, the Japanese don't drive gigantic vehicles like we do out here in America.
I mean, Japanese don't drive very much to begin with.
There is that too, a little more public transportation. So, like, in the intro here is a good example of what is considered like a pickup truck for like farm work and stuff like that is definitely something that like we wouldn't consider a pickup truck out here. We'd look at that and go, oh, that's not enough space to do anything, whatever. But it's like the traditional like Japanese like pickup truck, like work truck. It's around here somewhere. I could just let the intro play, but we all know what happened if I did that. But it's interesting to see like the contrast, and you see it like in different places online too. Is like the difference between like what we out here in the West consider. There it is. So like that truck right there is really all you need. You know what I mean? And you see stuff like, oh man, I have to have like a giant pickup truck that's like V8 and can like tow like 800 tons or whatever. It's just like, even trucks like this are capable of towing things. You know what I mean? You don't need like a V8 and like a massive transmission to tow what you would need to get done like farm labor wise and what. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, this is a pretty standard Japanese delivery truck. Really, all it needs to be able to do is isekai someone.
Pretty much. And you get hit by something like that, you're still getting isekai. So, either way, well, the last thing I did want to talk about was like, for people who might not understand like what they were talking about here, was when Kaneda passes the rookie guy, the mole guy, forget his name, but they talk about a potential rules violation. Now, for me, in MFG, they already talked about the fact that there's very minimal rules in MFG, and most of them refer to the vehicle itself, and that's pretty much it. In professional circuit racing, what Kaneda did there would be considered... What's the best term for this? Unsportsmanlike, I guess, which to me, as someone who's raced before, is insane. Because if you can make a pass on somebody, it shouldn't, as long as you're not physically pushing them out of their line and like pushing them into a wall, like in circuit racing, because that, you know, whatever, in street racing, anything goes. You can knock people off the course. We saw that in Initial D, that kind of thing. But there definitely seems to be some rules against like no actual like contact and like no deliberately forcing people off the road in MFG. But yes, in Initial D, basically anything like that went. But in this, yeah, like it's fine because he didn't actually touch him or force him off of the road. He just pressured him into backing off, basically. Yeah, which is something complete. Those are two different things, and that's where the interesting thing is in circuit racing, a lot of drivers that are on the defensive, like the Supra were, they will allow themselves to get hit so that the other driver will face the rules violation and that is how you protect yourself against stuff like that on the defensive. But it's more instinctual to back off and not get hit than to hold your line and get hit and take the rules violation, because double-edged sword. They could get the rules violation, but when they tap you, they could also put you into the wall and end your race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you have to weigh the pros and cons in under half a second. So that just proves what Kaneda did is even more impressive, because not only did he make a pass in an insane location, but he made it in such a way that it would have been a rules violation if he had done anything more than he did. But because of how he did it, it was just, as the play-by-play guy points out, I can't believe what I just saw. I have nothing. I'm literally speechless. And sometimes that's okay. You don't have to have an explanation to everything. Just sometimes you just have to live in that moment and go, wow, that was absolutely impressive. So, yes. As it stands, it will be interesting to see how this race wraps up. Again, based on the meta knowledge, I mean, we saw it. The next episode is titled Into the Final Lap. So that would imply that next time we are not wrapping up the race, but we'll just have to see. So maybe they will finish.
It could be either.
As it stands right
with
now,
a title like that, it could be either.
Yeah. But as it stands right now, they are headed into the beginning of the fourth lap. You know what I mean? They're on the fourth lap right now. So when they come around one more time, they'll be headed into the fifth and final lap. So, you know, it would make sense for how this series has done its pacing for the races. Maybe one extra episode, which is totally fine, because this race had more implications because of Kaneda's injury and stuff like that. And it's a bigger circuit. You know what I mean? It's 5 laps and that kind of thing. So either way, you know, that's all I got for this week. Keep it up. I'm enjoying it. And it will be interesting to see when Ryosuke makes his grand entrance as a doctor extraordinaire and, you know, smacks Kaneda around for being a nerd. So, yes. But, anyway, again, solid episode. You got anything else, Age?
How are you supposed to prove all my racing theories if you can't race?
Yeah. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond whoever you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more anime night in the dojo. And this was MF Ghost, Season 3, Episode 2. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.